Hey folks, last night was the first week of the quarterfinals on Season 7 of America's Got Talent on NBC. Not only was it the first live show of the season, it was also Howard Stern's first live show ever, and I thought he did a pretty good job. He did get on my nerves a couple of times. At one point he said, "Get this guy off my stage." And I don't think it's his stage. Of course, it may be written into his overly inflated contract that he actually does own the stage, but they don't usually release pesky details like that, so we may never know. Also, I noticed early on in the show he seemed to be telling all of the acts that they were going to be making it through, and there would have been room left for anybody else. I guess somebody must have pointed it out to him, because eventually he stopped doing it. I'm only guessing that during a commercial break, Sharon Osbourne probably turned to him and said, "You've already told all the acts that they're going to be making it through, and there aren't going to be spots left for the others." I say it was Sharon Osbourne that pointed it out to him, because I would imagine that Howie Mandel spends his commercial breaks in the shower, but who knows? Anyway, the first act of the night was Distinguished Men of Brass, a dancing marching band of old unemployed men. They performed Beyonce's Crazy in Love. I know it can be tough to blow on those horns, especially at their age. Shoot, I'm half their age and I can't even hardly blow up a balloon. I gave it a try though when I was in middle school. Playing a horn, I mean, not blowing up balloons. So I still can't really do that, and I never could really. I was in the band for a year and I hated it. I tried and tried and tried to make something musical come out of that trombone, but all that came out was noise. So kudos to these guys for actually sounding good. But honestly, does the best marching band in the world really sound that much different from your average high school marching band? Especially on TV. They would be great in like a parade or something like that, but barring some sort of miracle, I don't see how they survive this week. Howard Stern thinks they will, but I don't. The judges loved him, but Howie and Howard weren't as enthusiastic as Sharon was. Next up was 14-year-old Edon singing Titanium. He was a little bit nervous because he thought that the high note in the chorus was hard to reach, and Howard Stern thinks that he sounds like a cat when he reaches for the high notes, and I don't think he sounded like a cat, but that might just be because I couldn't really hear him that well. He was completely overpowered by the band. One of the first lines in this song was, "I can't hear a word you say, how fitting." But it did start out nice, and he sounded pretty good for the most part from what I could actually hear. And I think he's got some potential, so I think he stands a moderately decent chance of making it through. The judges loved it. Howard and Sharon said that he hit every single note. Maybe by Osbourne standards, I don't know. He hit most of them, but there were a couple that fell kind of short. Howie Mandel said, "You are terrific." Next was Jarrett and Nejad, a magician and a pianist. It was a cute little performance, but it was hardly magical. Singing in the rain with the magician in the shower, making women appear under towels, but we already knew where they came from. Where did they come up with this routine? Magic for dummies? Isn't the whole point of being a magician to get some people to say, "Wow, how'd they do that? I wish I could do that." But we all could pull that routine off if we practice at it for a few minutes. So it wasn't magical at all. I thought it was quite lame, and apparently the audience felt the same way because there were quite a few boos, which I thought was a little bit rude, but they're in Jersey, you know, what can you expect? The judges weren't crazy about it. Howard thinks they need to bring back the pizzazz that they had in Vegas. I thought they were pretty terrible in Vegas, too, if you ask me. Sharon thought it was cheesy and thinks that they needed longer towels, and Howie kind of liked it, but he's pretty easy to please, though, isn't he? Next up was 6-year-old dancer Lil Starr. Cute as a button, although I'm not sure how cute buttons actually are, but she was adorable. She danced a party rock anthem, and I know she's only 6 years old, and we're supposed to grade kids on a curve these days, you know, give them all trophies and tell them that they're all winners, or something like that. But it seemed to me like she was off from the music the whole time, and to the point where it didn't even seem like dancing. It just felt like I was watching a kid stomp around for 2 minutes. And you pretty much saw the entire routine in the first 10 seconds. I think her parents were too eager to get her out there when they should have waited a couple of years when she was old enough to move with more finesse. And for God's sake, don't let the little girl turn around and shake her ass. That's just weird. Howie Mandel thinks she's the next Shirley Temple. Reaching back quite a few years, aren't you, Howie? Howard Stern doesn't think she can win because she does the same exact thing over and over again. Sharon told her to pay no mind to Howard, but I think most everybody can agree with him. I sure do. Next up was animal ventriloquist Todd Oliver, who uses real dogs as his dummies, and I felt like the real dummy the first time I watched him because I thought, how in the hell is he getting that dog's mouth to move like that? I don't know if it was shocking him or pinching him. You would not believe some of the wacky theories that were running through my head, you know, especially since you can't see his hand. But now you can clearly see that he has a device on the dog's faces, but I still think it's adorable. I love that little bulldog. I wasn't so crazy about the little girl dog. I mean, she was okay, but she seemed to want to shuffle around a bit too much. Maybe you should have given her a sedative. I think he would have done better to leave her at home. I agree with the judges. The jokes could have been a little bit funnier, but I chuckled a little bit, and I do hope he makes it because I love that dog. Next was the American BMX stunt team. Guys with bikes on ramps going back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth, with an occasional flip, but nobody got hurt. Damn! I'm kidding. I didn't want anybody to seriously get injured, but a good old-fashioned slip is the only thing that would have made this more interesting for me. There was a guy on skates that almost fell down the ramp, but he caught himself, so that was disappointing. The judges loved it. I hated it. I thought these guys were terrible, and I think they're history. Next up was Nikki Jensen singing The Scientist. I didn't think she was terrible. I kind of liked her voice in parts, but there were some bum notes, and she didn't take the song anywhere, really. It was kind of dull, and I think she tends to overdo the whimper in her voice. And she has this annoying habit of rolling her eyes back in her head when she's singing. I didn't know if she was getting into the song or having seizures. The judges weren't crazy about it either. Howie Mandel compared her to Alanis Morissette. He needs to clean out his ears. Yeah, right, like he doesn't already do that every 2 minutes anyway. No, I thought she would have sounded better with an Alanis Morissette song, but I thought she sounded more like that woman from the Cranberries. Next up was the Scott brothers, dancers that look like twins but aren't twins, and they've been street dancing for 32 years. I guess they started dancing when I was but a fetus. I really liked them. They were kind of a mix of Mimes and the Three Stooges, except of course there were only two of them. I guess if one of the Stooges were to die, that would be them. Their timing, though, was perfectly in sync. On their own, they'd probably be boring as hell, but together I thought they were great. The audience loved them too, and so did the judges. I agree with the judges. I think they're going to be completely safe. Next was Michael Nejad, who turns junk into instruments. Unfortunately for him, it still kind of sounds like junk. But then, I didn't really expect a shovel that's been turned into a violin to sound as pristine as an actual violin. So for what it was, I thought it was actually fascinating. And he had a clarinet made from a baseball bat and some kind of saxophone made out of a vacuum cleaner. I like the vacuum cleaner the best. All of the judges buzzed him. Howard Stern buzzed him at, like, the very beginning. But I think he had planned to do that even before this guy ever stepped foot on the stage. He had it out for him. Didn't even give him a chance. Howie buzzed him near the end, and Sharon waited until it was over. Why bother at that point, Sharon Osbourne? Just to be mean, I guess. And all the judges were way too mean to this guy, I thought. They acted like it was the worst thing they ever witnessed. I thought it was at least better than that stomping little girl and them bike-riding boys. I kind of hope he makes it just to spite them, but I don't think he will. Next up was 787 Crew, a dance crew from Puerto Rico. I love what they were wearing, but honestly, they could have just as well come out with pom-poms wearing mini skirts, because it was really like watching a group of cheerleaders. Really good cheerleaders, but I was completely bored. Howie and Howard weren't blown away either. Sharon loved them though. She thinks they'll be back, but I doubt it. Next up was Shanice and Maurice Hayes, the father and daughter duo singing There You'll Be. I thought this performance was abysmal. Shanice sounds like she might eventually one day have potential, but not if she don't drop daddy like a hot potato. For one, because they are a father and daughter duo, they are so limited in the songs that they can sing without coming across as creepy. And two, they still come across as creepy regardless. People that just happen to see them and don't know that they're father and daughter are going to say, what is that girl doing with that little old man? I don't get it. The judges loved it. Howie Mandel gave them a standing ovation, and they all think Shanice and Maurice will be back. God, I hope not. I don't know. I think a little girl singing with her father is one thing, but a grown woman singing with her father, some people will call that unique, I guess. I call it strange. And the last of the night was David Garibaldi and his CMYKs. I love these guys. They danced to Paint It Black while painting Mick Jagger. I like that they used a different technique this time, but if I'm being completely honest, I didn't like this as much as the other performances that we've seen from them before. Because before, they seemed like they were dancers that happened to be painting, but this time they seemed like painters that happened to be dancing. I don't know if it was just me, but it felt like David spent more time painting and would occasionally give an awkward move every now and then, but it was still great. One of the best of the night for sure. Got a standing ovation from all three judges, and Howard thinks the ones going through are Edon, Scott brothers, Shanice and Maurice, and David and his people. And of course I agree with those, but I would replace Shanice and Maurice with Todd Oliver and his dogs because I love them. Leave a comment and let me know who you think's going through. Anyway, that's it for tonight. Join me back here tomorrow night where we'll discuss the results. And if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and do that. And next week we'll do it all over again. This is my first time reviewing America's Got Talent, even though I've been reviewing American Idol and all the singing shows for a few years now. But I think I'm going to start doing this one too. Anyway, I'll see you folks tomorrow.